Hello and welcome to Thank God It's Friday. This is our fourth broadcast, here again with my cup of tea. And once again, we're here for a positive evening where we get together to celebrate what's been good this week. We've got good news stories from here in the world, the UK and beyond. And of course, part of our focus is going to be VE Day, which we're celebrating today, 75 years since the end of World War II in Europe. So here we are in the fifth week of lockdown and not much sign of things easing up very much. Maybe you're going stir crazy, or maybe you're feeling dragged down by all the bad news around. But it's even more important then, isn't it, that we take some time out to appreciate what is good in the world. And as we've seen in the last three programmes, there's always good news. There are always things to celebrate. Now we've got an exciting programme for you this evening. Our resident tech expert, Alex, will be here doing all the tech wizardry and managing your comments.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's show.
We also have a very special guest with us tonight, Debbie Dolby. Let's say hello to Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good.
Good. Oh, you've got to introduce yourself to us, Deb, so we all know who you are.
I'm Debbie Delby. I'm the Director of Outreach for the Diocese of Chester, and I'm also a curate in Northwich and Lostock. So I've got a lot of things going on.
Sounds like it. Oh, thanks, Debbie. And of course, Debbie will be joining us a bit later on in the programme. But of course, vital to the programme tonight is everyone here who's tuned in, and we would love to have your input. So please feel free to comment on Facebook while we're live. If you've got some good news stories of your own, we'd love to hear those too. So as ever, we're focusing on good news stories and not on politics. And as usual, we're starting by having a little look at some new and exciting creative talents. Now, as you're well aware, musicians and singers not only have to sound good, but they've got to look good too. So check out these potential rock album covers. Pretty fab, weren't they? Next up, neighbours find a creative way of having a drink together. Well, what did you make of that, Alex?
Well, I really like the dogs and the animals. They're very rock and roll. I'm a little bit dubious about that social distancing. Great invention with the fence. That'd be really cool for barbecues and stuff. But I noticed that guy handing a glass to the other guy, and it was like, oh, be a bit careful. Just before we get people like coming on the chat and saying, yeah, I'm not sure that was good enough.
Yeah, we're very alert to things like that at the moment, aren't we? So, okay, so now we have an update on our resident hero, of course, Captain Tom. And we had a lot of news about Tom last week, and we did say last week that we wonder what Captain Tom will be doing this week. Well, he's hit the news again. Take a look at this.
So Tom, Benji and Georgia, welcome to Blue Peter. Thank you so much for having us here today. I've got to say the badges look great on all of you.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Congratulations on all your walking and everything you've done. You set out to hopefully raise £1,000.
Not true, yes.
Currently on about 26 million.
No, we're over 28 now.
So currently on £28 million
28 million, yes.
that you've raised for the NHS. Talk to me about why it's so important to you to raise money for the NHS.
So what this money is for, such super people at our National Health Service, they are doing a magnificent job.
I think the reason people have got so on board with what you've been doing, Tom, is during this moment of crisis, everyone needs light and they need hope, don't they? And that's exactly what your granddad's done, isn't it, Benji?
I think it's quite incredible. It shows that we genuinely, as a public, really care. I think to see that they've got behind Grandad, it's made me cry over the last few weeks. I just hope it inspires people to do more, and it shows that even in dark times we genuinely can help. And just like a beacon of hope we hope he is for others, it just shows we do care.
What's it like? Because your granddad has overnight become this hero.
It's quite amazing because everyone around me are like, oh, you'll probably never go this far. But now we've gone this far, we can't really turn back.
And with VE Day just around the corner, I wanted to ask Tom about his memories of the end of World War II.
Everybody was going around in arms. London was absolutely packed with people dancing about, absolutely thrilled with the fact that at last we'd got through the war in Europe. And it was a great day.
I wonder as well what your comrades would say, you know, if they could see you now doing these laps in your garden, raising all this money and this awareness.
I think they'd say, well done. And the comradeship throughout the war was great and continued afterwards.
You have technically finished your challenge now, but I'm told that you're still walking. Is that right, Captain Tom?
I set off to do 100. I'm trying to do another 100 by the time of my birthday. Whilst I'm talking to you, I'm not walking.
I know. I won't take up any more of your time, but I've got to say, I've met some incredible people being a Blue Peter presenter, but you're right up there. This is an absolute honour, so thank you. Thank you for being on Blue Peter.
It's my pleasure indeed.
We at Blue Peter think it is brilliant what you've achieved and what you've done over the past couple of weeks. We've got a little surprise. Benji and Georgia are on board. They know what's going on. So on behalf of Blue Peter and our wonderful audience, we'd like to award you with our highest accolade, which is a gold Blue Peter badge.
That's absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. I'm very proud to receive that because I've always been a great fellow of Blue Peter. I remember the elephant, which was quite a few years ago.
It was iconic.
So thank you very much indeed. I really am delighted to have this.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Everything he's achieved. And I just think it's wonderful how moved his grandson was in particular by the response to him. It's great to be following Captain Tom's achievements. And that gold Blue Peter badge, I'm not sure I'd heard of it before, but apparently it is Blue Peter's highest accolade. And its famous recipients include the Queen, Sir David Attenborough and Mary Berry. And only a handful are presented each year to outstanding individuals who've achieved something extraordinary in their field, who are considered to be role models and who encourage and motivate children across many generations. I think that probably does sum up Captain Tom. So still on the note of the NHS, here's a different sort of tribute by our local zoo, Chester Zoo. a lovely tribute to our NHS workers. Now, one celebration that Captain Tom will be joining, as we saw in the video, is today's VE Day celebrations. And of course, VE stands for Victory in Europe Day. And on the 8th of May 1945, Britain and its allies formally accepted Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender after almost 6 years of war that had cost the lives of millions, destroyed homes, families and cities. And at the time, people celebrated with street parties and dancing and singing. And here's a photo of a street celebration in Nottingham in 1945 with my mum in it. She's the girl with the hair clips. You can see her there, we can. And for this year's celebrations, with the day falling on a Friday this year, the early May bank holiday was moved so that people could celebrate, and lots of places had planned public events to mark the occasion. But due to the lockdown, of course, these events have been cancelled. But councils, neighbours and families have found different ways to celebrate, and we'll be looking at one of those in just a minute or two. So far today, there has been a 2-minute silence at 11 a.m. When the Red Arrows display flew across London. So let's take a look. And the VE75 celebrations will later tonight be led by an address to the nation from the Queen, with her pre-recorded televised address, and it's going to be broadcast on the BBC at 9 p.m, so we'll be finished in time for that. So the choice of 9 p.m. today is because it was the exact moment that her father, King George VI, gave a radio address on May the 8th, 1945. And after the broadcast, the public are invited to join a moment of celebration and thanksgiving by taking part in a rendition of Force's sweetheart Dame Vera Lynn's wartime anthem, We'll Meet Again. And of course, across the country, people have found other ways to celebrate. So let's bring our guest Debbie in for a proper chat. Hi, Debbie. So,
Hi again.
Hi, hello. So thinking about VE Day, is that something that's important in your head, Debbie, do you think? Is it?
Absolutely. I think the chance today to just feel as if we can look forward to a time when we don't have to stay in, we don't have to observe lots of distancing rules, really chimes with the time when people didn't have to be frightened of going out on their streets anymore. Very, very different times. And we're not in a war situation. We're in a very, very different situation where being sensible and taking care is the order of the day. But I do think that feeling of release is exactly what we will feel when we can go out and hug our friends and family and just be with them again. So actually it's really, really poignant that that stands out. And of course, to remember the people who gave their lives in the battle and they gave their time to others during very, very difficult times also chimes, I think. So yeah, there's a lot for us to ponder on at the moment, but I think it's really exciting that people have come together in this way and stayed sensible, still social distance, but got together.
Yeah, that's right. It is, and I believe that you've been celebrating today, Debbie. Is that right? You had a little celebration.
We have huge amount of cake, many sandwiches eaten, 4 pots of tea. We had an afternoon tea in our garden, and the rest of our street had a socially distanced street party. So it was fantastic.
Great idea. And have we got a few photos from that, I think, coming up?
Yep, so we went full bunting, obviously, and balloon, full balloon, which kept drifting off down the road, and we had to keep chasing them. But we went for it in a big way. And a friend down the road sat in his boat, which he decorated in red, white, and blue. People had their gazebos out. People had blankets on the front garden. So it was really lovely atmosphere, and we had music playing all afternoon down the street, and we marked it with We'll Meet Again, and we had the national anthem, which we all sang, and we actually did a rendition of Amarillo, where we walked around the block, socially distanced of course, but 3 of us marched around the block and people cheered and waved, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. And isn't it lovely how people are making the effort to come together in that way? We're still getting that community spirit, isn't it? And people knowing that it's important. And it's lovely. And I think, and I think what you said about it sort of, I mean, people think of the coronavirus, if people talk about it as if it's a war against the virus, isn't it? And I think, as you say, in terms of restrictions and not seeing one another, there's, as you say, there's a poignancy there, isn't there, that we can identify with as to how it must have felt for people.
There is. I think sometimes we overplay that, because actually people are getting well, and also I think if people are poorly, they've not got to feel as if they're battling, they've just got to feel as if they're relaxing and trying to get better and going with the health services, whatever people advise them to do. So yeah, I think it's getting that balance, isn't it? We don't want to sort of feel as if we're in a really, really negative times all the time at the moment, because there's so much joy still to be had, and to be reminded that hugs are important, and being with friends is important, and you know, being together, and that's the thing we have to kind of hold on to. So yeah, we've been reminded, I think, through this whole period, that being with your neighbours, being able to chat to them is an absolute delight, and we shouldn't ever look at that with with a sense of fatigue, really, that we have a lot of people around us. Actually, having people around us is a gift, and we shouldn't ever overlook that again.
Yes, no, I think you're absolutely right there, Debbie. So yeah, so that's great. And so while you're here, Debbie, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your job. I know there's quite a lot of exciting things going on at the moment. Do you want to just share us a little bit about that?
Well, we have brought together 2 departments into one big department called Outreach. So my role previously was around social responsibility, the things where people would reach out to people, sharing God's love through practical activities, through environmental activities, feeding people through food bank, etc. But we've come together now with the mission team, and we're looking at the whole range of ways of how we talk about our faith, how we share that with others, how we share that good news in the workplace, how we share that through our buildings, how we share that with children and young people. So really thinking about that, working out in God's world, how we connect with others, and how we do that through the things we say, the things we do, and the people we are. And it's very exciting. And I'm in that role for probably another 6 months, and then I'm going into my on a temporary basis. I'm on the role as the interim director, and then I'm going to be full-time curate within St Helens in Witton and at Lostock, St John's in Lostock. So really excited about going into that full-time ministry role, and swapping from the office to the community, which is very exciting.
Yeah, well, it sounds it. Oh, thanks, Debbie. And is there anything in particular that you're sort of working on for with the project you're doing at the moment to sort of help sort of after the coronavirus?
Yeah, we're very concerned that actually this has been a very major event for people. There's been something huge about this transition, and what we've asked people to do to keep others safe, to stay indoors, the issues around fear around health, and the incredible change that we've seen around people's perspectives on the health service and caring roles. But there is an impact on people, we recognise that. So we're putting a team of people together, we're doing some training with colleagues from a STAR programme in America, and a group of people to think, how do we think about what happens in the short term, but also the long term? How do we support people? Because people will be frightened about going back into church, they will be frightened about getting back together again, particularly some of the people who are shielding at the moment, who won't have been out for months. So we're thinking, how do we deal with what we're going to call trauma, which I think is what people will feel. So yeah, we've got a real raft of ideas about how we can support people and think about people as spiritual beings, as emotional beings, not just people that go out and earn money and go into shops, but the whole range of things that we can work on together, and how we're going to do that. And we're trying to give some real thought to that, so that it's not just an afterthought or things take us by surprise. We give some real thought to that approach.
That's a great thing to be planning for, isn't it? To think ahead how we can do something positive to help once this is get over, or in the process of becoming over. So that sounds a really worthwhile thing. Yeah, that's lovely.
Absolutely. We've got a counselling service within the diocese, so we already offer counselling service. We have a mental health forum that thinks about how we support people through those mental health issues that they have in day-to-day life. But of course, there's a whole raft of impacts on people's mental health during this time, and the pressure it's put people under to be different and act in a different way, and to live online. So all those things have got to really be addressed and thought about. So yes, that's what we're hoping to do, is give some real thought to how we support people to do that, and give them some energy back as well, because I imagine people are getting pretty tired right now. Tiredness seems to be the main theme of conversations that I have with people when we go online. So how do we get them back, get their energy back, and get them in a sense ready to be connected again with each other without that being a scary thing to do?
Yeah, and that sounds great, Debbie. I'm sure that's just going to be really, really useful and helpful to everybody, and it's a great thing to know about. So thanks for telling us about that.
No, thanks.
So we're going to have in a minute or thanks, Debbie. In a minute or two, we're going to have our chat. We've got one video to show you, and then we're going to go into our chat. So if you've got any questions or comments about anything on the show so far, or anything you wanted to ask Debbie, please do put those up, and we'll come back to those in a few minutes. Okay, thanks.
Great.
Thanks, Debbie. So now for our next clip, we're looking at how the lockdown is working out for marriage.
Kim? Oh, there you are.
I just needed to get away from all of these people.
I'm the only person here.
I know. I just feel like it's so hard right now. Like, what are we gonna do?
I mean, I'll tell you, one way we can fix it is...
I'm not asking you to fix it.
But it could be better.
I'm not asking you to fix it.
But we could try...
Don't fix it. No fix. Just listen. Listen. It's time for a haircut.
No, I think I'm just gonna let it grow long.
No, your eyebrows. They're out of control. So anyway, I was like, are you kidding me? That is insane. I saw them out walking together. I mean, I want to go on a walk with my friends, but we're not supposed to be. And they're like, oh, we're 6 feet apart. So I yelled at them from my car window. Why are we doing all of this stuff if you got on walks together? Hey, where are you going? I just want to be close to you.
Honey, did we get eggs at the store?
Did we go to 3 stores to try to find your eggs? Did we? Yes, we did.
Honey, where's the thing that makes the zoodles? Honey, where's the thing that strains the pasta? Honey, where's the mop? Is this a mop? I thought there's like spaghetti stuff. Honey, where's the thing that makes it a mop? Honey, where's the...
Don't.
But I didn't even...
You have lived here as long as I have. What can't you find?
Milk.
I can still hear you chewing.
I'm in the car.
Then drive it somewhere. How was your day?
You were here for literally every second.
That's true. I love that you're keeping up with their workouts. Can I work out with you? You are doing great. Keep it up. Did you see my TikTok? Did you like my TikTok? Did you watch my TikTok yet? Go watch my TikTok. Go watch my TikTok.
There it is.
Did you like it? Is it funny? Is my TikTok funny?
Very
good. You haven't liked it? You haven't liked it?
How? What do I do?
Just hit the thing. Yay, thanks, babe. We need to watch something new, like not trashy.
Ooh, the documentary on the Vietnam War. Ken Burns.
I just love that we get to connect and take these long walks and really hash things out and have this time outside together. Honey, are you wearing earbuds?
What? Hey, honey, I fixed the light bulb. All right, hey, honey, I made the kids lunch. All right, the toilet's all clean. Why am I even doing this if I can't get credit? Okay, I'm folding laundry now.
Okay, is this what you want? Metal? You want a metal?
Yes. Okay.
Just listen. 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 No talking. Listen.
So just a few of the problems there of marriage in lockdown. Okay, so now I think it's time for us to have a look at our chat. Alex, have we got anyone online or are they all watching the telly?
Let's have a quick look. Okay, we have Kathleen's here. Trish is here. Welcome back, Trish. So you sorted your phone line out, but she said she's not sure how long she'll be with us for. Let's hope she's here for the whole show. That'd be good. Trish said hi to me. I said hi back. Robert's here. Good evening, Robert. Just got a message for you, Elaine. Your mum sent me a photo of VE Day with her and her husband. He was coming up to 5. Coming up to 5? And yeah, that's all the comments we've had so far.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
great, thanks.
everybody.
Oh, good to have you all with us. Yeah, so that's great to see you. Okay, so now we're moving on to what I've named the recovery section. And now the good news for this week is that more than 1 million people have now officially recovered from coronavirus, according to Johns Hopkins University. And we know that infection rates and death rates in the UK are beginning to go down. So some good news there. But of course our show wouldn't be complete without the contribution of the animal kingdom to cheer us up. And our next clip has been sent in by Kathleen, so thanks for this. Spinning pigeon. Great. And now you need to watch this last clip very carefully and make sure your sound is turned up. I just love that dog's expression. It's classic. Okay, so now this week I've been looking at how around the world people are adapting to different ways, to this new way of living in very different ways. So first of all, let's see what the ravers are doing in Germany. So it was clearly very popular. Apparently there were 250 cars there, 2 people maximum in each car, and all beeping the horns to the music. So another example is from Iceland, where there's some new guidance about hugging a tree. And the population have been advised to hug a tree a day as therapy because we can't hug each other. I think that's a great idea. And lastly, in Italy, there has been some forward planning for when we can return to the beach. Somebody has designed individual plastic boxes for socially distanced sunbathing. I'm not sure whether that's really going to take on, but it does show the ingenuity of people in this difficult time. And now for something different. A New Zealand poet now living in the UK, Thomas Roberts' video of the poem of the Great Realisation has already had more than 24 million views across Facebook and YouTube. It's a video of a bedtime story. Let's take a look.
Tell me the one about the virus again, then I'll go to bed.
But my boy, you're growing weary, sleepy thoughts about your head.
Please, that one's my favourite. I promise just once more.
Okay, snuggle down, my boy, though I know you know full well. The story starts before then. in a world I once would dwell. It was a world of waste and wonder, of poverty and plenty, back before we understood why hindsight's 2020. You see, the people came up with companies to trade across all lands, but they swelled and got much bigger than we ever could have planned. We'd always had our wants, but now it got so quick. You could have anything you dreamed of in a day, and with a click. We noticed families had stopped talking. That's not to say they never spoke, but the meaning must have melted, and the work-life balance broke. And the children's eyes grew squarer, and every toddler had a phone. They filtered out the imperfections, but amidst the noise, they felt alone. And every day the skies grew thicker, till you couldn't see the stars. So we flew in planes to find them, while down below, we filled our cars. We'd drive around all day in circles. We'd forgotten how to run. We swapped the grass for tarmac, shrunk the parks till there were none. We filled the sea with plastic, because our waste was never capped, until each day when you went fishing you'd pull them out, already wrapped. And while we drank and smoked and gambled, our leaders taught us why. It's best to not upset the lobbies. More convenient to die. But then in 2020, a new virus came our way. The governments reacted and told us all to hide away. But while we all were hidden, amidst the fear and all the while, the people dusted off their instincts. They remembered how to smile. They started clapping to say thank you and calling up their mums. And while the car keys gathered dust, they would look forward to their runs. And with the skies less full of voyagers, the earth began to breathe, and the beaches bore new wildlife that scuttled off into the seas. Some people started dancing, some were singing, some were baking. We'd grown so used to bad news, but some good news was in the making. And so when we found the cure, and were allowed to go outside, we all preferred the world we found to the one we'd left behind. Old habits became extinct, and they made way for the new, and every simple act of kindness was now given its due.
But why did it take a virus to bring the people back together?
Well, sometimes you've got to get sick, my boy, before you start feeling better. Now lie down and dream of tomorrow, and all the things that we can do. And who knows, if you dream hard enough, maybe some of them will come true. We now call it the Great Realization. And yes, since then there have been many. But that's the story of how it started, and why hindsight's 2020.
Well, I thought that was really thought-provoking, particularly at this time where there are the very beginnings of signs that here in the UK we may be considering taking baby steps towards the easing of restrictions. And people are asking, how long before we can get back to normal? And that made me think about what normal will be like, the new normal. And the poem that we just heard talks about all the things that we've been celebrating here on TGIF in the last few weeks. Kindness, sacrifice for one another, valuing friends, family, neighbours, and that wonderful creativity that we've seen. And the signs of the planet being able to breathe. And when the poet, when he was interviewed, he said that we've been through crises before, but all we needed was to be able to access a ray of hope. And so I wonder, what's your hope for the new normal? Mine is that those positive things that we've been seeing are a sign of true change of heart, that we truly have dusted off what the poet called our old instincts, and that those signs of a world where people honour each other, encourage each other, see each other as valuable, becomes the norm, the priority. Because that's God's way of seeing others. Each of us is precious and honoured to God. And my belief is that we can, with God's help, come through this difficult time with new priorities, a new sense of justice, and the hope of a new, better way of life. So that's my hope for the new normal. I'd love to know yours. Maybe you think something different, and it would be great to have that conversation. So please share with me through comments or message me on Wallasey Parishes or email me. My email address is revelanewhite@outlook.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Now, I think we may have had something through on chat, a question. Is that right, Alex? A question for Debbie?
Yep. Yes, we've had a question from Rob. Debbie, if it's okay, I'll bring you back in to have a question with Elaine.
Of course, yeah. No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, so the question from Rob Woodburn. Rob is the licensed reader at St Luke's, one of the 3 churches a part of Wallasey Parishes. And his question for you, which I think you two can answer together, is how well do you think the church is responding to these challenging times? That sounds like a big question.
It is.
So, yeah. I'll sit back now and just watch the reaction.
Debbie and I'll do this. Yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Well, shall I have a go?
Yes, and I'll join in too. Yeah.
Question. Okay. Well, I think the church, if we think about the church of the people who would maybe congregate on a Sunday, I heard recently someone give the expression that the church isn't closed, it's just been deployed. And so I think the church has responded incredibly. I think there's been a revolution of worship, actually. We've seen people worship on live streaming, we've seen people worship together via Zoom, we've seen people worship together just joining together at a particular time, lighting a candle at a particular time and saying the same prayers. We've seen people go out and feed people. We've seen people cook meals and drop them off on people's doorsteps. We've seen church communities come together and raise huge amounts of money for the local food bank, or raise huge amounts of money for projects that support people to access care or enable them to still receive the level of support that they received before, but in a different way. And I think that's incredible. I'm so excited actually by the change that we've seen, that we've let a genie out of a bottle. Actually, we've started to see a very different way of being with each other and remembering how precious the time we have together is. And I am very excited about the future. So I think the church has responded incredibly, and I think it's reminded us that our buildings are special, but they're not the church. They're where something happens, but the thing that happens is not the building. So bringing the two together, amazing. But you know what? We can do so much if we just look outside those doors and think about the world that we're engaged in. So yeah, we've woken up too. There's been a realisation in the church, which I am, as I say, very excited about.
Yeah, me too, Debbie. And I think it's been quite like for everybody else. It's been difficult for the church, or however you think of it. It's been difficult for everybody because suddenly life changed very much, didn't it? And I think that in terms of church has responded. I think you're right in those 2 ways. One is through worship in different ways, the online services and lots of different things that are being broadcast, which is great because it means people can dip into it if they want to. And also in that practical way of, as you say, feeding people, of keeping in touch with people, trying to support people. I think there's been, from the people I've spoken to, there's been a big response in terms of church sort of pulling out all the stops really to sort of show love to people and to support people, as well as just getting the message out there online for those who want to listen. So Can I just try and solve it? Hang on, Alex has got a comment.
Yeah, I'm just thinking actually, because Rob is actually taking part in our daily prayer services and our weekly service as well, our Sunday service. And I think actually, if Robert looks inward, he probably sees what a lot of us are doing, or a lot of us are trying to do, by making the best of the situation we're in, so that he's getting involved, he's getting in front of a camera, and I think that's a new thing for him. So we're all sort of stepping up to the plate, and I'm very proud of what the church is doing as well, and certainly the people in our parishes. they're stepping up.
Yeah.
And I think if anybody has different views, again, please, I'd love the conversation. If you've got a different view, you want to contribute something, either put it up now or, at another time. If you're watching this on catch up, that's fine too. We'd love to discuss things with you. But thanks for the question, Rob.
Well, Rob's got a response to the answer, which is a great answer. Long may it continue. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah.
I was going to say, one of the things that I think we've also done is we've learnt to be outside and to feel a connection with nature, which is a space we can be with God all the time. And actually, I think it's given us a lot of time for people to, apparently 1 in 4 people have tuned into some form of either online or a broadcast service, because people are rediscovering that being quiet, being in a space by yourself is actually a real gift as well. I'm sure for people who are very lonely and separate from loved ones right now, it doesn't feel a gift, but to be able to go out in the outdoor space and just be is a real, as I say, a real privilege and a gift, and we've possibly been reminded of that as well.
Yes, because I think people have had to slow down in a way that perhaps has been alien to a lot of people because lives are so busy. And I think it's been a real gift, because it's not until you stop, is it, that you can actually start to reflect on, those big questions, I suppose, what is it about, and actually feel yourself relax and start to think about life and what's important. And we need to do that, don't we? So I think it's great. Okay, thanks, Debbie. That's super. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay, so our last clip, just to change the subject altogether now, we're going to finish with an example of us trying perhaps a little bit too hard to get it right. Quite funny, aren't they? So I hope you've enjoyed being with us this week. And before we go, let's say bye to Debbie and thank her very much for being with us. It's been great to have you with us, Debbie. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie.
So,
Thanks for asking me.
That's
Thanks.
okay.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So, and I hope for all of you, you have a great week, and don't forget to watch the Queen at 9 o'clock this evening. So see you next Friday.